Last week, we covered 2 cases where students were punished because they allegedly used AI. Today, we're going to look at a case where a professor used AI when grading. What could go wrong there, right? In May 2023, a Texas A&M University instructor, Jared Mum, accused several students of using ChatGPT to write their essays. And how did he know? Simple. He copied each student's essay, pasted it into ChatGPT, and asked ChatGPT, "Did you write this?" And when ChatGPT politely replied, "Yes, I did," that was proof enough. No Turnitin report, no draft comparison, no edit history review, no interview with students, just ChatGPT's confession. Jared withheld the grades. Some students couldn't graduate as a result. The class erupted in panic. The story spread fast. Even the Washington Post reported it, among other outlets. Every headline said something like, "Professor uses ChatGPT to catch students using ChatGPT." The university stepped in quickly. They clarified that ChatGPT cannot be used to catch ChatGPT. It is not a reliable method to verify authorship. Some students were cleared, others were given the opportunity to redo and resubmit, but the damage was already done, and it wasn't academic. It was more relational and reputational. Students lost trust in their teacher, teachers lost confidence in their own judgment, all because, for that brief moment, ChatGPT was functioning as the judge, the jury, and the key witness. Now, 2.5 years later, looking back at this case, I think there are several points that stand out. I believe this case wasn't really about cheating. It was about the uncertainty over something new, about not knowing what to do. In early 2023, ChatGPT was still rather new. No one quite knew exactly what it could do or what should be done about it. Professors were concerned about this tidal wave of AI-generated assignment reports. There were all kinds of experts questioning what universities must do to ensure learning. It was the perfect storm. High anxiety, relatively low levels of knowledge and literacy, and ChatGPT back then would say yes to almost anything if you ask it nicely, leading the instructor in this case to believe that ChatGPT really did write all those essays. Fast forward to today, the end of 2025, you might think, well, back then in early 2023, we were rather clueless. By now, we must have figured everything out. Well, in some ways, we have. Most universities now have generative AI guidelines. For instance, Columbia tells students not to upload personal and confidential data to AI tools. Yale also has official rules for when AI use is acceptable and when it is not. The university where I am employed tells us that we are not supposed to upload anything personal or copyrighted to any generative AI tools. But here's the thing. Are all these rules really enforceable? Generally speaking, no one can see what you type into ChatGPT at home on your personal devices. Privacy laws forbid it. And then there are AI detection tools. Sure, universities could potentially use them, but they are not completely reliable. And as a result, some universities, including mine, have banned them altogether. Officially, I am not allowed to take a student's report and upload it to GPT-0, for example. So when a lecturer suspects a student of using AI, the official advice is talk to them. Ask them about it. And if the student denies it, well, there's really not much else one could do. And the academic misconduct board, exam committees, panels like that, ultimately and probably what they would do is that they would just ask the student to redo the work, a slap on the wrist at the most. Because they can't really sanction the students without proof. Just look at the Yale case and the University of Minnesota case that we covered last week. And let's also remember that it is really tricky to punish students for something that's actually partially allowed. Many universities, again including mine, say that students can use AI for ideation, for background research, and even to polish language, just not to completely write the entire assignment. But that's a pretty blurry line, and this line keeps moving. Every time OpenAI updates its model and puts out some new functionalities, the boundary between help and authorship blurs a little bit more. Some universities put out huge PDFs of regulations and guidelines to cover all bases and regulate every possible angle. But the problem with all those detailed rules is that the bigger your rulebook is, the more difficult it is to keep it up to date. And you might end up with a huge rulebook, half of which is outdated or not enforceable. And then there are universities who put out shorter and more generic guidelines. Use generative AI responsibly, protect copyright and privacy, cite properly, and always submit a transparency document. Now that's nice, but let's be honest, the problem with that is you are leaving a lot of aspects open to interpretation. And that could be an issue in an age where almost all students and faculty members are already using generative AI tools. Now, 2.5 years after the Texas A&M case, which at the time was considered a bit of a scandal, an AI witch hunt, if you will, but now I don't think anyone would look at that case as a scandal anymore. Rather, it was a helpful mirror reflecting how universities and professors were trying to figure out how to deal with artificial intelligence. And to be honest, I don't think we've completely figured it out yet. We're still busy with it. And by the way, Jared Mom is still on faculty at Texas A&M University and continues to teach there. The university treated the case as a learning moment rather than grounds for dismissal, which in itself says something about how institutions are evolving in the age of AI. Jared was very concerned at that time with the question, did my students cheat using AI? But maybe the more important question for now is, how has AI changed what we even mean by learning? And what part of learning is still uniquely and exclusively human? What do you think? I invite you to leave your thoughts and comments down below. On my channel, and specifically in this playlist, we will cover more cases involving academic misconduct, academic disputes and lawsuits, and other higher education controversies. If you find these topics interesting, please stay tuned. Thanks for watching this Ranywayz random video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.